that sacred space is a very interesting concept. Sacred space, and there's also sacred time. So for instance, every religion has times that are more important for the religion than other times. In our tradition, the Prophet ﷺ said that the whole world has been made a place of devotion for me. The whole earth. He said masjid. He called it a masjid, a place, a mosque. So the whole earth is a mosque. And this is why Muslims, like Christians, worship in the church. I mean, they can pray in other places, but their worship is in the church, the Jews in the synagogue. So the Muslims can pray anywhere on the earth because the whole earth is a mosque. So in that way, the whole earth is sacred space for Muslims. And then there's sacred time, like Ramadan is a sacred time. So what makes it sacred? I mean, the first thing and the most important thing is that in our belief, God has designated these places and these times to get closer to Him. There are certain times, like the Prophet Muhammad said, that the last third of the night before dawn is the night when somebody is closest to God. And I once saw an amazing a man who does Zen bows, the archery bow. He was a Japanese man, and he said the only time he could make it was the hour before dawn, because he said it was the time when his ego was absent. And he said that the degree with which his ego was in the bow, there was a defect in the bow. And I just thought that was so interesting, because that would resonate with a Muslim, because that time is, anybody that spends time before dawn, like that hour before dawn, will know the special time. And most people are deprived of that time. Just a very beautiful time. Dawn is a beautiful time. Seeing the dawn emerge is a wonderful thing also. So these are really important. In terms of mosques can be very simple. They're not meant to be have any graven images, which is very important. That's why geometry became a kind of sacred art of the Muslims, and calligraphy. So you will find in mosques both calligraphy, which is celebrating the word, because it's abstraction. Neil Postman wrote a wonderful book about the danger of images and amusing ourselves to death. And in the second chapter, he talks about the Decalogue and the importance of not making graven images, because he said, if God wanted a community to abstract, and to abstract the greatest abstraction, which is an understanding of reality, then He would not want them to be distracted by images. And so, Plato also understood that, this idea of having these, that we're already divorced once from reality. So if we add images to it, now we're twice divorced. And they're very distracting. And one of my favorite definitions of evil is from Franz Kafka, who said evil is whatever distracts. And one of the things about pre-modern peoples, the word in English, distracted, means insane. Bethlehem was the hospital for the incurably distracted. And so the modern world is a distraction. So sacred space is meant to remove distractions. And that's why it's very important for that space to be a kind of empty space. One of the things that when the Roman emperor, I think it was Hadrian, one of the Roman emperors, when he went into the holiest of holies in the Jewish temple, he couldn't believe there were no idols in it. It was an empty space, and he couldn't understand it. He was like, what's going on here? What are you worshiping? No thing. And even when we talk about God, even though it's permitted to use thing for God to avoid no thing, the word in Arabic for thing means that which, literally means that which was willed into existence. So a thing is already a created phenomenon. So God is beyond thingness in that way.
How about the art itself in mosques, specifically the great mosques, with the incredible tessellation are these geometric patterns that cover it and just give you a feeling of great space and great movement into beyond that which you can see.
Well, geometry was generally an obsession with the Muslim civilization early. Euclid was translated 34 times into Arabic, more than any other language, 28 times in Latin, but 34 times in Arabic. It was a fundamental text that was taught in all the colleges and madrasas of the Muslim world for centuries. And the reason for that is, well, one of the fundamental reasons is it gives you these demonstrative proofs. So it has a type of rationality that shows you in abstraction that there are things that are real and can be proved to be true. You know, QED, that it's been demonstrated. And so they love to put this sacred geometry in their mosques to remind people of this other dimension of reality. And one of the things that we're seeing now with fractals, and as we go deeper, we're seeing all these geometrical patterns. I mean, snowflakes themselves, it's just stunning. The pilgrimage itself, when we go on Hajj, there's a circle around a square, a cube. You make a circle around a cube, then you go on a straight line back and forth, and then it ends with the point on the day of Arafat. So all of the geometrical forms are there. The polygon, the circle represents that which has no beginning and that which has no end. So it's often been a symbol for God, for God.
So you see all of these different images. How did the tessellation begin as a process? Was that an innovation, and then? Well,
I think that there was some tessellation from previous civilizations, no doubt. But the Muslims developed it in a way that, I mean, people that study tessellation study Islamic art.
Of course.
Yes.
Is there a theological meaning to it?
Well, it's this idea of the infinite, you know, the one becoming infinite in in many. So it has the one and the many contained in the display, and it's quite vertigious when you see it. Really, it has an effect on the soul. Sacred spaces, I think, all share a certain commonality. Even when you go into a great cathedral or a pagoda or a Hindu temple, there's always a sense of that this space is different from other spaces. And I think it's the intentions of the builders and also the intentions of those who go into them to worship. So devotion is a beautiful thing.